78 long years after his appearance in Detective Comics number 27, and The Dark Knight is still sitting pretty. People have all but accepted the little foibles about his character by now, like the tragic origin story and the pointy cowled costume. In the years since his debut, there have been plenty of chances to draw attention to the more troubling idiosyncrasies of the Caped Crusader, but most tend to shy away from them. Is it because these perceived flaws are nitpicky and daft? Possibly. I'm Ben from What Culture, and here are 10 problems with Batman nobody wants to admit. Number 10. The no-killing rule. So the idea of Batman not killing does come up fairly regularly in discussions, but neither side ever tends to give the other much leeway. Either you're an idiot for siding with Batman, who infamously refrains from killing his enemies, because that would make him as bad as the criminals he's trying to lock away, you idiot, or you're a bloodthirsty maniac who wishes that relatively innocent superhero comics should be as full of consequence-free killing as your average action blockbuster, you moron. Neither is totally correct, but the bloodthirsty lot might have more of a point. Applying real-world ethics and logic to a superhero comic is a bit silly, but here we are with this list, and if Batman just up and killed the Joker, you can't help but wonder if his problems might come to more of a, an end. Number 9. The gadgets. Along with training his body during those wilderness years spent hanging out with Ra's al Ghul, Bruce Wayne was supposedly training his mind, developing a sharp, analytical eye and deductive reasoning. When it comes down to it, though, most of his great successes come from leaning on the wonderful toys he can afford to build thanks to his Wayne Tech billions, and in that way, being Batman isn't all that difficult. Your mum could be Batman. Beyond the whole peak physical condition thing, it's the gadgets that put the Caped Crusader above his fellow crime fighters. Number 8. The Batcave. The Batcave doesn't make any sort of in-universe sense, at least in the way that the rest of the Dark Knight's shtick does. He wants to fight crime because of how his parents died. He adopts the symbol of the bat to scare criminals. He has a cave because he fell into it as a child and thought it was really super cool. Yeah. Having a Batcave is an inherently silly concept, even in the overall concept of Batman, which is saying something. There's absolutely no reason that he needs an elaborate underground layer beyond storing his toys and vehicular toys. It's more Bond villain than superhero, really. Number 7. The wards are weird. In each of his Robins, Bruce Wayne has seen a youngster not unlike himself, with a tragic loss of their parents or some other youthful psychological scarring. So, cool, they've got this new father figure and he seems to be on their level, except that he forces them to wear these weird costumes and frequently puts them into mortal peril by insisting they join him in his war against crime on Gotham. And nobody ever tries to stop him, not even the supposedly level-headed Alfred. At least the last one was his actual son. Not that worked out any better. Number 6. He's the superstitious, cowardly one. Whilst sitting in the shadow cast by the large Gothic windows in Wayne Manor, mulling over what symbolic creature he will adopt, a bat crashes through the glass and then Bruce knows. Yes, father, he thinks, I will become the Bat. Why does Bruce need to use the image of a bat for his quest? Because criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot, apparently. Really, he's supposed to be incredibly rational and intelligent, and even he doesn't notice the irony in calling criminals a superstitious lot before immediately taking a bat flying through his window as a sign not only that he should dress up as a flying rodent to fight crime, but that the message came directly from his long-deceased father. Come on, Bruce. Number 5. Batman in the world of Superman. In the case of The Dark Knight, his ongoing operations as a man without superpowers in a world full of super people doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but then the existence of anybody but Superman in the DC universe doesn't really make sense either. When you have somebody who's essentially invincible, you've eliminated crime basically overnight, and suffering and economic strife and pretty much everything else. Quite frankly, the moody guy who dresses up like a bat and scowls upon his city of thugs is surplus to requirements when the Man of Steel could be called upon to clean it up immediately. Number 4. The psychology of Bruce Wayne. The actual crime-fighting activities Wayne does as Batman and the way he supports those with his daytime career as billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne are both performances. They're both masks. The real Bruce Wayne hasn't been able to get a word in edgeways since the day his parents were killed in front of him, which is when he started acting. Now, going through that sort of trauma would throw anybody for a loop, but Bruce has been keeping up this dual identity for his entire adult life, never letting up for a single moment, and neither of them are his true self. Surely that's got to take some sort of psychological toll. The guy never switches off. Without some kind of breakdown, it simply isn't sustainable. Number 3. That secret identity. You'd think in a reality that has teleporters, robots, and a superhero based on the moon that people would have the capacity to work out that Bruce Wayne is in fact Batman. It's not like he even tries to make it hard for people. All of the gadgets Batman uses clearly originate from Wayne Tech, and there are definitely receipts for the billions he's sunk into that costume, the doodads, the Batcaves, and all the vehicles. There's a paper trail, just like with Al Capone. Then there's the fact that whenever he's bashed up, his injuries will be consistent with whatever beatdown the Caped Crusader had the night before. You're too sloppy, Bruce! Come on! Number 2. He couldn't keep it up for long. Not in that way. Some nerd ran the numbers, because of course they did, and despite Batman being one of the more down-to-earth superheroes, he'd only be able to operate for like a decade or so, maybe 20 years at a stretch. That's the period at which he'd be at his peak physical form, which would inevitably break down over the course of time, especially when he spends as little time recuperating and sleeping as he seems to. Taking the youthful exploits of Zero Year at face value, Batman's been around for maybe 10-ish years in current comics continuity, which means he hasn't got much longer left in him. Sooner or later his knees will go, or he'll slip a disc, and he'll be able to get it fixed, of course, because he can afford that, but he'll still be really angry about it. Number 1. It never ends. One of the more surprising and satisfying developments of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy is that it offered Bruce Wayne's story something it had never had before: an ending. All other peeks into the future of Batman involved him continuing on as the Caped Crusader until either he died, was replaced by a young protege, or simply sat at home commanding a fleet of Batbots. It was just Bruce Wayne's lot in life to be constantly fighting crime, chasing the catharsis and closure he so desperately needed for his whole life. That's something which doesn't get addressed often enough. In the comics, he's been around for 78 years and doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon, even though he's more than earned a break, having made up for his parents' senseless murder several times over. The biggest problem with Batman, though, is the same as all superheroes. He can never stop. He'll never complete his quest and never reach closure. His mission never ends. If it did, comics would just stop. He's a hamster spinning endlessly on a wheel for our amusement. Sorry, a bat hamster. And that's our list. Make sure you subscribe to the What Culture Comics YouTube channel for more lists like this, and don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. I'm Ben from What Culture, and thanks for watching.